quite convinced I'd sent you a link and everything.
Don't worry, honestly. You know, I know you've got at least one child, so
Oh.
I was like, anything could have happened.
It's true, actually. Anything could have happened. It still might.
I'm glad you're all right. I didn't even. Do you know what? It hadn't quite twigged to me that you lived in London.
Yeah, it's the accent in it. It fools everyone.
And also, I don't know if I've ever seen you in London. I see you in other places. You know what I mean?
I do get on. I was supposed to come to the gig on Friday, you know, at the Hope and Anchor.
Oh, yeah.
But it all went to
good,
shit.
actually.
It all went to shit, and I didn't come on. So I went to see Glenn as well and say hello to Glenn. But
it was lovely to see him. Yeah.
I know, fucking it, lad. But I was out on Saturday. I saw Paul.
Oh yeah. Paul said he went out. I don't know how he went out Saturday. I just stayed in fucking, well, I say in bed, but it's actually I've got a chaise longue.
Oh, I've just got one of those, you know.
In my studio flat. Talk about, delusions of grandeur. I spent Saturday on my chaise longue. I don't know how anyone went out. The others looked like Simon went to a Palestine demo, and I was just like, oh fuck, I can barely walk.
Oh, that sounds brilliant, though. Oh, it's a shame I missed it.
It was good, actually. And then I was in the gym yesterday, and some guy sidles up to me and is like, I recognise your tattoos from Friday night. And then I'm like, what the fuck did I do Friday night? 2 days of brain deadness. And he looked at me like, what are you going on about? And I'm like, what was I doing Friday night? I'm thinking, did I do crime? Normally we gig on a Saturday as well, so I was just like, was that at your gig? I was like, oh yeah. Let's know that I'm recognisable. But yeah, I mean, after a gig, my brain's always. It's getting harder to recover as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a band.
I am, and last gig I had to do it on my own, and I shit myself afterwards. Afterwards, I was in a mess. I couldn't order a drink from the bar. Somebody had to help me. They ended up buying me a drink. It wasn't a ploy. I was just shaking so much. Like, we'll buy you a drink. I got a double whiskey.
And,
I know.
It takes some bugs, doesn't it?
Yeah, it didn't help. There was Steve Druitt sat there. There was Steve Whale, and I thought there's no pressure at all. They all stayed, and I don't know why. They all stayed to judge me.
Yeah, like the X Factor.
It felt like that.
Yeah, it does actually. When you do, I mean, I'm not sure what this is going to take, so I don't want to use up all my material whilst we're having a chat. I did a couple of solo cabaret gigs last year on my own, and I have done it once or twice before, but usually in walkabout kind of at festivals, just walkabout kind of territory, which is a bit easier than being on a stage with like people looking at you. Do you know what I mean? And I made my partner sit on the stage and pretend to be my little gimp thing or whatever. Just for some security, really. So I could have someone to lean on. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking, actually.
It is. I didn't expect to be shaking afterwards. I don't know what that was about.
Well, it's better to do it afterwards, though, isn't it?
I was nervous before, but all that afterwards. And the next day, it was like I'd been drinking heavily, but I hadn't. I just had a double whiskey, and that was it. But I think it was all the adrenaline and stuff. It just really caught up with me. Yeah, that's what I was going
to say. Probably your adrenaline kicked in and carried you through, and then afterwards you got had an overdose on it or something. Good for you, though. Good to see you back on the old treading the boards.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
What's your name and where'd you come from?
Yeah, come on, we'll go for that. What's your name and where you come from?
I'm in Wasp, and I come from just outside of London, but I currently dwell in Newington Green, although it's actually closer to Dalston where I live. for a bit of interesting London trivia, Newington Green is a bit of Islington that sticks out into Hackney. And if you look at it on a map, it should clearly be Hackney. But borders, just to, we all know borders are stupid.
I know.
The Islington border around Newington Green is really, really stupid. But anyway. At least I've still got Jeremy Corbyn as my EP, as my MP here. But yeah.
I heard you go to the gym with him. Oh, he goes to your gym.
Yes. Yeah, we go to the same gym. I mean, the good thing about, I'm essentially an anarchist. I would see the whole system burnt to the ground. But the good thing about Jeremy is he's got vaguely reasonable international and progressive politics. But really, it's how much he's in the community. You can bump into him anywhere and you'll just be like going in Finsbury Park, like cycling along, and you'll think, what's that crowd outside that kebab shop? And it's like a load of young people with Jeremy Corbyn.
That's what I like about him. Just see him on the bus or see photographs of him just here, there and everywhere. And that's what you want. And it just annoys me that that's the sort of person you need. If you're going to have a leader.
Yeah, well, he's accessible.
Yeah.
Because, he popped up next to me on the treadmill at the Sobel Centre in Holloway. And I was sweating my fucking tits off. And he just got on. So he was obviously looking quite, like not flushed and sweaty. And I was like, oh, hello. Do you mind if I stop and we take a selfie for my dad? Because he's a lefty. And he's very, very, amenable like that. So, and he's knocked on my door as well around here, actually, before the election in 2024.
Okay.
And it's just like, I was thinking, God, is it the TV licensing people? And then you open the door and it's Jeremy Corbyn.
I'd think I was on crack or something. I'd be like, well, put in the water. There's Jeremy Corbyn at the door.
It's strange, but yeah, so, even I still support Jeremy, despite the missteps with the new party and whatnot. If he's on the ballot round here next time we get to vote for an MP, I will definitely vote for him. Although I've outed myself as a voting anarchist now, obviously. Anarchists are split down the middle about whether to vote or not. But the older I've got, the more I've come to realise I probably won't see any revolutionary change in my lifetime. Yeah. And so I've jumped in with the most progressive, radical change that I can see occurring in my lifetime, which is not necessarily my ideals or even my desire, really. But your kind of perception and perspective changes as you get older, doesn't it? So,
yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it really does, and you feel it as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a real point where, well, actually, I got diagnosed with a serious illness a few years ago, and then I'd been in bed for a while whilst I was unwell, and it really makes you face your own mortality. And I thought a lot about my politics and how I'd spent a lot of time doing things that I thought might kick off some kind of insurrection or revolution or anything really. Then you're sort of looking down the barrel of, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to survive the next 10 years. Like, you don't know at the time. And so you sort of readjusted, and since then I voted. Before then I didn't vote.
Yeah, I didn't vote for.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't vote for a very long time, and I just thought, a bit like yourself, but I've got to. I just feel like I had to do something because all these right wingers are getting in and like.
Exactly. I think the Brexit vote was a real lesson. So I didn't vote in that. I wasn't actually in the UK at the time that happened. Because it was so close, I was left wondering if I had voted, would the outcome have been different?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and I'm not a huge fan of the EU either by any stretch of the imagination, but I just, wanted us to retain our rights, essentially. Which I saw the EU as being slightly more progressive and the freedom of movement as being a really good thing. So I wanted to retain those, and obviously lost it all. But it was a bit of a lesson for me, and that coupled with facing my own mortality, has led me to be somewhat more of a reformist than I could ever have imagined.
Not Reform UK.
Oh God, yeah. Let's give that term a new fucking meaning.
Don't.
You're not a reform. Oh God, you can't dig out of that. No, I'm not pro-reform.
I know you're not. I know. I don't think I'd be chatting to anybody on here who's reform. I think we're pretty much everyone's.
Well, I'm sure you've got very good taste people to it. I won't name names. Some people who do inhabit the same scene as we do, who might swing the reform way.
Oh yeah. Let's not.
A few of them around, but
there are a few of them around. It shocked me for some reason.
Yeah. It's been a real eye opener the last 5 to 10 years.
It has. It really has. I really thought, we're moving forward and we've gone right back, and it's really sad.
And, I mean, it's sort of on that subject. The pandemic was a really interesting sort of reveal. Lots of people thought about not just whether people believed in the virus or how they can get the virus. That's how things work. It's more sort of batshit crazy conspiracy stuff. The amount of people I know started spouting, and I was just like, I thought you were all right. And then they're going like, government, I'm not going to wear a mask because the government wants you to mask. I'm like, I'm sorry. As an anarchist from the late 90s, almost, the government does not want you masked. I've had masks ripped off my face just go into a demonstration. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you people obviously haven't seen any of that. And now, of course, everyone wants to mask up again because of the surveillance technology.
I know. I can't.
Oh, it's everything's moving so quickly, and it is a bit. It's been a horrific 5 years, I think, or 10 years now. But
it has. It's been really weird. So weird.
Yeah, because I mean, the coalition government and the following right-wing Tory governments made New Labour look like a walk in the park. And I was just kind of like, I want to get back to opposing Labour. Do you know what I mean? Because that's how I grew up. But now Labour are in, it's just like, you lot are just the same as the Tories.
Yeah.
It's not even opposing Labour, because Tony Blair, war criminal, obviously, did lots of awful things, but one of the few things he did do was invest in children. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he invested in social stuff. This Labour government aren't even pretending they're going to do any of that. Like, it's quite shocking, actually.
It is shocking.
Yeah. And, I'm not number one fan of children either, but I don't want them to be brought up in abject poverty with nothing to do. I want everyone to have the best opportunities that they can have, not be driven to a life on the streets, being a roadmap or crime or, knife crime, like, and credit where it's due, and you won't hear me say this very much about Tony, but he did invest in young people. So, it's a shame he bombed a whole bunch of other young people.
I know.
It's the way it goes, isn't it?
I just wonder if that happened under duress, if he was felt like he, the American government put pressure on him. I don't know. I'm not kidding. It sounds like I'm making excuses for Tony Blair.
No, you're not, and I'm not either. I don't want anyone to think that I'm pro Blair by any stretch of the imagination. But also, it is interesting to see how Keir Starmer's behaved around the latest kind of weirdness from America.
Yeah.
Especially the Greenland stuff. Where he's like, before that, he was treading this middle line, like they had him under a cosh, and then all of a sudden with Greenland, he's like, oh no, I can't just excuse this, I have to say something. But it did sort of expose it to me, just how twisted our arm is in the UK by the US. But so I take your point about Blair, but yeah, I happen to, I don't like look in his eyes.
Yeah. Keir Starmer, I've never liked him. I don't know. I pick up on vibes, and the vibes have never been good. Never been good. No.
Well, he's just outed himself as a careerist, isn't he?
Yeah.
So even all through his human rights lawyer years, he's obviously just done that for a career. He's obviously smart enough to uphold that. But then to get into power and just turn your back on human rights the way he has is like, well, you're obviously just a politician for a career then, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, if you were a human rights lawyer just for a career, which you obviously were because of the decisions you've made since you've been a politician, then you're just a politician for a career. And what we need actually is politicians who give a shit about people if we have to suffer under a system like this, you know? Like, so, anyway, that's my... Sorry, party political broadcast.
Political broadcast by Wasp. Or is it Wasparella? I read Wasparella the other day.
Yeah, Wasparella, I do use that from time to time. That's been a name someone gave me years ago. And I kind of credit Wasparella on anything connected to Rites of Hadda or anything I do artistically. But Wasparella is great. I don't. Wasparella is a bit of a mouthful, so. Why use 4 syllables when you could?
Yeah. With Rites of Hadda, I've read somewhere. I should cite these sites, shouldn't I? that you said you've called yourself a failed drag queen.
Yes, I did say that at some point. Yeah. Well, that's because I had aspirations to do that when I was younger, and I used to do the walkabout performances as a character Gladys. And I mean, there's no sort of moment that I tried and failed, but it's just kind of I wasn't very good at makeup, and I could get drunk and make people laugh. That's what I was good at. And then you had to throw an outfit together. But I didn't have the confidence at the time to put myself up on a stage or go for anything huge or even small. So I just used to do walkabout performances at festivals. So, and at some point, my confidence really, really crumbled about all of that. And so I gave it up. So that's where I gave up even doing fun. So that's where the kind of failure comes from. It's kind of what you'll find with a lot of my sort of jokes from the stage and stuff that I talk about from the stage it's kind of a mix of like exaggerated truths or half truths. So it's like I've melded some kind of I've got like everything comes from my kind of experience, but it isn't always fully factually correct. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah. It's sort of I ham up where I need to or play things down where I need to for the performance. But yeah, sort of the way I roll really with everything.
It's like you play different characters on stage as well, and you get changed into different outfits. And you okay to tell me about some of the characters, or is it just you just work with the songs, or how?
Well, actually, it's interesting because I was thinking, I didn't know what you were going to ask me, and I was thinking, wasn't just thinking, I was talking about this to Matthias the other night after Friday, I think. And we'd been slung out the hope and anchor, but we still had our pints on the pavement, and we were just chatting. So it was like 1 a.m. And everyone, like, people tend to think I've sort of planned the whole thing, whereas actually what's really happened is it's developed over time. So, like, lots of the characters that I do, I haven't designed the character. I've, like, found an item of clothing and built it from that. And when I say find, it could be in a charity shop, or it might be online, and then I work out where it can go with what songs or in what point of the set. And it has to be a bit flexible because some people who see us a lot might argue, but we don't always do the same song. So it's always a bit like, well, recently we've been doing this song off our most recent record called Demon of Hate, and it's essentially about the sort of struggle I had thinking around my gender as a teenager and into my 20s, and then sort of transposing that a bit. I mean, people didn't view transgender or non-binary people, although we wouldn't use that term at the time, in the way that they do today with suspicion back then. Do you know what I mean? So the pressure wasn't quite as on as much, you know? But it's a song about that. And then I was just, Ollie from South London Punk Collective, he does a little like jumble sale at their stalls, and there was a load of fake blood on it. And I was just like, oh, I'll pay £3 for like 8 vials of fake blood. So, you know, and I can use that in Demon of Hate. That's more how I develop things. So the character I'm playing in Demon of Hate is sort of a disintegrated version of me now. I squirt fake blood on my head and rip the dress that I've got on off entirely. Like, so, but that, you know, I haven't planned that until I saw the fake blood. And then I'm like, this is a really good way of getting rid of all these dresses that I don't really like. You know, so it's kind of like a mesh of off the cuff kind of, oh, that's going to be good for that, rather than a design, an actual design. And like the ending sequence that we do, which we do normally do at sort of 90% of our gigs, started off being one song and then became 3 and is now 4. And again, that has evolved over time as I decided to do a live transition on stage and the makeup and costume changes and everything. That's when we bolted the sort of 4th song onto the start of it in order to allow time for that. But you know, the whole thing wasn't planned. It was more like I've do you know what I mean? And let's see if it works. And I found this wig that might be suitable for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and that wig that I have just stopped wearing because it's all ripped, I did actually find on the top of my estate when I lived in Archway on a Sunday morning. Now, some poor girl had either had a very good night or a very bad night. But she'd lost her wig. So it was like, and then I've worn that for about 7 years. Now it's disintegrated. In fact, the sort of spiritual side of me was like, and this is, people are going to think I'm dirty after this, and I don't care. But the spiritual, I could smell that woman's scalp on that wig. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, I am getting good vibes off this wig. Do you know what I mean? Whoever owned this wig was probably really trashy. I could just smell the sort of perfume and sweat mix from the scalp, and I was just like, and so I wore it without washing it for the first few gigs to kind of imbue some of that the previous owner's energy into me. So I'm doing stuff like that as well. So it isn't just I'm going to do this and then this and then this and then this. It's kind of, it's more sort of organic and flows depending on what I find at what point in time I find it, and how I can wheedle it in to the songs, basically.
I think that's a really good story about the wig, because I'm like that with vibes about things.
Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
I do. I get vibes from things. I had an amp with a bad vibe. I'm going to sound... I had an amp with a bad vibe, and it was like sitting in my house for years, so I had to get rid of it. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I'm better for losing that amp, but yeah, I'm like that with things as well. If I find things or I end up with something, I do feel the vibes from it.
Yeah, I do as well, and that's, you know, it's actually sort of I'm a pagan, I've been practicing pagan and witch for decades now, and that sort of was part of my sort of training, was about how, and it's involved in Hinduism as well, right? So about how the inanimate can have a spirit or an energy, even if spirit is a bit too, turns you off too much. You know, like things. This table that, you know, I'm sat at now can have an energy. I mean, it's a pretty boring energy, this table, but you know, it's like you wouldn't stand next to it for long at a party. But you know, it's like other things like the wig. I was just like, right. And you gave me a lot of inspiration, that wig. And yes, it's a bit dirty not to wash it or wear it, but the way my sort of the way I sort of work with energies like that, it's, I don't think like I'm going to be permanently absorbing that woman's energy into me, but I do feel like I can gain something from that, you know, like, because clothes and wigs and stuff like that, they're powerful, and this is, I mean, I've always known this, but it's especially true. It's especially evident in Rites of Hadda because I do change image several times throughout the show. So I can do 4 or 5 sometimes succinct different images without actually doing very much and without leaving the stage. So, and the audience reacts differently to each character often. And people tell me afterwards their favourite bit or favourite character, or, you know, like, so. And I just find clothes and wigs and makeup so powerful. They've all got their own individual energy, and then when you combine it all together, it creates a different energy, you know. My philosophy on that sort of thing. So yeah, it's not a very punk rock philosophy though, is it? It's more.
But
it's more a
just
spiritual philosophy.
I don't know where that comes from with vibes. I always thought, because I've got a background of abuse, and when you've been, I'm going deep now. But when you've been through that, you sort of you become like, you pick up on energy to keep yourself safe. And I thought me picking up on energy from these things had come from that. And I've explored, you know, Wiccan, and I've done like rituals and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all sort of, I feel like it's all gone by the wayside because my life's just gone completely mad with kids and podcasts and bands and all sorts going on. But I thought it came from that. You know, maybe it does come from something a bit deeper.
Well, actually, I think when you've been through something like that, it can heighten your awareness of things like that. Because I was given up really by a teenage mother really young as a baby, and was in the care system for a while before I was adopted. And I also have a awareness of how safe people feel. Do you know what I mean? Like, now I have always put that down to that 18 months to 2 years where I was, you know, not really sure what was going on at the start of my life. You know, so, but I also believe that as humans, we do have more than 5, or it's not, we have more than 5 senses. Is it 5 or 6? I can't remember. More than 5 senses. It's how far deep into this I am. I don't even know how many senses I've got. We have more than 5 senses, but with, you know, it's like, that's how you can explain deja vu and how you can explain all these other strange things, intuition, that we just discard often, you know, as not being important. But actually, if you've been through something like you've just described, or lesser to a degree like I've just described, that side of you could be enhanced more. Because if you're feeling on your own as a child, you know, you've got to learn pretty quick smart, because you're not intellectually processing everything in the way that an adult would. So you've got to learn to lean on your other senses, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you think we've got more than 5, then the other ones are going to be included in that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm laying it all out on the table now as well. I was attacked in 1999 quite seriously, and since then I've been hyper vigilant. So like, whatever, it's not so much if I'm drunk it drops a bit, but if I'm sober and I'm just out and about, and I could be just like in a shop or at the gym or anywhere, I notice who's coming and going and where they are. It's like second nature to me. So just to know, it's not that I feel threatened by everyone, but it's just like a reassurance thing, you know, that yeah, I mean, at gigs it's a bit more difficult because I'm, you know, 3 sheets to the wind and it's a room full of people. You can't monitor everyone coming and going. You know, but in smaller places, I've noticed it, you know, like, every time the door goes, I look at the door, you know, and not everyone else in my gym does that. So, you know, it's like, I do think these things have an effect on you, but I think they're playing on things that are already there, you know. It's just that we, in our modern condition as humans, have suppressed them, or even if you're more sort of cynically minded, have been deliberately suppressed somewhere along the line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By the church, or, you know, like, but you know, yeah, I essentially think we're energetical and spiritual beings, like I think every animal is, like I think every object is, really. But yeah, and I think a lot of that comes through in my performance, to be honest. And one of the things I like to say, especially if we're doing gigs to queer audiences at queer nights, is don't let anyone tell you who you are. You can be 5 people in half an hour if you want to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not for anyone else to say, because we're all a myriad of things. And all of those characters that I do in Rites of Hadda are all different shades of me to some degree, you know, so, but they're not necessarily shades that I choose to live in.
Yeah.
So it's like, we've all got a million, I mean, it sounds like I'm saying everyone's got mental health problems, but we've all got a million personalities in us. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, depending on mood, environment, you know, everything. We just get funneled through being one way and one way only, and we're supposed to pick a side and stick with that. Actually, I think the whole of everything is a bit more fluid, and that's one of the things I like to show in the stage shows, is that you can be 5 people in half an hour and it be fairly fluid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question.
So yeah, it did answer my question. Thank you, and you added a lot more to that as well, which I think's brilliant. You know, because sometimes like you read interviews and you don't. It's almost like you get like a quick answer, but you don't really get the full picture.
Yeah.
You know, do you know what I mean?
Well, I really, I like being interviewed by people I know. Yeah, because it feels more like a conversation, and you can open up more. If I didn't know you, like I've known you, and all right, we're not best of friends, but you know, I've seen you around for years, yeah. So we've known each other. I used to come and see the Cherries when you were in them. You know, it's like, so I feel like I know you. So you're gonna get more sort of warts and all that.
It's easier. Like there's some people that I've spoken to on through podcasts that I've never met before, and it's a little bit more. I don't know. It's a bit more nerve wracking, and you feel a bit. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. And then and with like with yourself, I feel like I'm able to ask more. Personally, I feel like I've not asked you a lot. I feel like I've not asked
anything, babes.
So you said you got attacked a few years ago. If you don't want to talk about that, that's all right. But what happened?
No, I don't mind talking about it. Well, actually, I wrote a song about it, and since we wrote the song, and it's not like we've got a fucking huge back catalogue, but I can't remember what record it's on. It's on Occult Sex Worker. Since we wrote, it's called Attempted Murder because it was an actual attempted murder, and someone strangled me with an old telephone. Not the curly bit, the flat bit that plugged in the wall. And I was dropped to my knees, and they were on me saying, "I'm going to prove I can kill." And they had the cord wrapped around my neck, and I blacked out eventually. I was actually rescued by someone who happened to upon us and jumped on this guy's back and got him off me. So I regained consciousness quite quickly, but it was an incident that essentially changed my life. And even though it was painful until I wrote the song to recall, when you write a song, as you will know, you have to keep going over and over and over it when you're rehearsing it. And the first few times, the band were like, "We need to do Attempted Murder again," and it was like wearing on me emotionally. And Alex, who you'll know, our guitarist, was like, "Oh, look, this is a really cool song for us, but for Wasp, it's actually something they're going through." And it was, for the first few times, it was like, and that's really sweet of him to recognise that. So it's like, for the first few times, it was hard, but it's become a sort of point of power for me now, because I can go to that place how I felt when that was happening, and as like things were getting, it's sort of like Hollywood film, but the sort of that closes in like a fisheye kind of like not fisheye, what is it, like sepia. I can go there on stage while I'm doing that song, and I find that quite empowering now, because it not only does it sort of make my performance more authentic and powerful. But it's also been very healing to do that, because I come back every time. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't come back the first time, but it's scarred me and stayed with me forever. But in terms of how that affected my life, after that, I got into drugs in a big way, and probably as an avoidant thing. And I got into going to raves in a big way, and I got into organising raves, and through organising illegal free parties, I got into activism, and through activism, I got into anarcho-punk, and through anarcho-punk, I got into going to gigs, and through gigs, I got into wanting to be a performer, and it took the aforementioned health scare before I sort of emerged from that and was like, right, I want to do things that I wouldn't have had the confidence to do before I faced my own mortality now. And that's when we started Rites of Hadda. So without that sort of formative experience in 1999, I wouldn't probably be here. And I certainly wouldn't have even changed my name to Wasp. And I wouldn't have done half of the animal rights activism I've done. I wouldn't have organised half the free parties that I'd done. I wouldn't have, I mean, I wish I'd done about half the amount of drugs for half the amount of years, I have to say. But, you know, like, I wouldn't have done any of that, which was largely a positive experience for me. So, yeah, it's interesting how these flashpoints in your life can turn your life a 90-degree, 180 angle. And in the end, you're looking back and you're like, where would I be now if that happened to me? As awful as it was, you know. So, I mean, the guy got locked up. I mean, he got locked up in a mental institution rather than criminally. But that was, I mean, no, I mean, I've had friends in those places, and I know that they're no walk in the park, you know. So I wasn't worried about sort of crime and punishment, as it were, you know. But it did feel like something had to happen, to him for doing that, you know. But it is something that, you know, weighs a little less heavy on me now because of the song and because of where it's led me. And ultimately, I'm really pleased with how Rites of Hadda have done and are doing. And, you know, and it wouldn't, I don't find that it would have happened if it hadn't been for that. You know?
Yeah. It's really funny, isn't it, how some really good stuff can come out of something so horrible and shitty.
Yeah. And I think that's testament to the individual that it's happened to. And I'm not just blowing smoke up my own arse here, but, you know, I know other people who've had situations like that happen, and it has absolutely destroyed them for the rest of their lives, you know, or for a good 10 to 20 years, to the point where when they come out of it, you're in your 40s or 50s, yeah. So it didn't do that to me, and I know other people it hasn't done that to. So I think it really depends on the personality that type that this sort of thing happens to. And it's I'm not trying to say that anyone who dwells on something like that is doing something wrong either. We're all just trying our best at every given moment, aren't we? But some personality types everyone deals with things differently, don't they? And some personality types, it can be the making of you in many ways, you know, rather than the destruction. So, you know, it's not always easy to talk about it, but because you're nice and friendly and I know you, and because of the sort of healing that song has allowed me to do, it's a little better in me these days than it has done previously, you know.
Yeah, it's like it just sounds empowering now for you, and that's so good. That's, you know, that's.
It has been. I mean, it isn't entirely. I mean, if I would be lying if to sit here and say I'm happy talking about it. I can still feel the weight of it whilst we're talking about it, but it isn't a weight that drags me down now. It's just a weight that is there because it was awful at the time. But also, I wouldn't take back any of what's happened to me since then. You know, I wouldn't change any of that. Some things before that I would actually change. You know, when I was a younger teenager, I did some awful things, and, you know, I was awful to my parents, and, you know, like, you know, I was troubled. That, although it led me into a really, really sort of drug-centred party life that also had its own issues, after I got out of that, I started doing things that were very constructive. And I'm not trying to say that the party life and the drugs weren't constructive. They were to some degree, but they were also just destructive to some degree. But I wouldn't change any of it. If I knew I was going to survive, I'd go through it. If I knew I definitely was going to survive, I'd go through it again.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm here where I am now.
So you've So it's had that. You've had that afterwards experience. That makes sense. That
Yeah.
With the Rites of Hadda, so I read that you'd started in squats in Finsbury Park, and when I was talking to Paul on Saturday.
Oh, you've been doing back research, have you?
Yeah, I did a bit of reading. But I was talking to Paul, said I'm going to be talking to Wasp on Wednesday, not realising that I'd not sent you the fucking link. And he's going, oh, there was a bass player before me, and he's telling me all his history. I'm going, I didn't realise there was a bass. I didn't even realise you had all this back history, and I don't know why.
Well, it's because we were criminally ignored for the first 5 years. And there's a good reason for that, and that's because we were shit. So it's like, we started, I'll just give you a potted history, but so I had a health diagnosis. I was very ill, and once I got the diagnosis, I got a bit better. And but it was quite a serious diagnosis, and I still live with the disease today. It's just under manners. So, it's so after that, I was like, to a friend of mine who was in a coven with at the time, another witch, I was like, I'd really like to sing, but I've never been very confident about singing, and I don't think I've got a very good voice. And she was like, oh, come round to mine. And she lived in Leighton. She's like, come round to mine. I've got a piano. We'll sing a Poison Girls song. So I was like, great. Yeah, I can go and do that. So we did that a few times. And it was Fear of Freedom that we were singing, for anyone who's a Poison Girls fan. And, I wasn't it's not like I belted it out and felt super confident. But what she did was she laid the foundations for the confidence to just do it. So after that, I was talking to Tom, who was the previous bass player, because I was living in a squat in Finsbury Park, and it was a long-term squat. It'd been a squat for about 7 years, and I was there for 3 years. It was a residential building when you could still live in residential buildings. And I don't want to out anyone now, but a few of the members of the band used to come around and score weed off of us in the squad.
When was this? When was this? What period of time was this?
About 2011, 2010, maybe 2011, 2012, around that sort of period of time. And yeah, so I've been diagnosed for 12 years, so it'd be 12 years ago. So he'd come round, and I was just talking to him, and he was like, well, let's have a jam. I'm a bass player. I was like, oh, lovely. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So there was another friend of ours who used to live down the road, and he was literally just picked up a guitar. So he was like, I'll come as well. So we got these little regular jams going on a Friday night where we just get really fucking stoned and do whatever, like I was singing Divine songs, the drag queen Divine.
Yeah.
She did this like synth pop trash stuff in the 80s, and I would sing some of her songs, and they would not try and play the song, they'd be playing anything. Anyway, it all rolled out of that, and by the time we had a few songs, there was 8 of us. And then we got the first gig. I think there was 6 or 7 of us played the gig. But we were like 2 drummers in by then. And Alex hopped on, who's still with us. He hopped in right before the first gig, because I think Tom was nervous, like, I need another musician here, because we're going to play something. And Tom and the old bassist and Alex basically propped us up. Me and Alex are the only remaining. Alex isn't quite original, but back to the fully jam days. But we're the only sort of original members remaining. And we've been through a few drummers, but when we got to Matthias, things really settled and he was really keen on the project. So he jumped on board, and then Paul replaced Tom. Tom was just, he had a lifetime in bands and he was just tiring of it and needed to move on. So he wanted to get out. So we've done a couple of gigs with Paul's band, Spirit of the Age, and they re-envisage Hawkwind covers. He jumped on board, and then we were all trolling along for a little while, and then we got Simon involved on sax. Well, it was Matthias who got Simon involved on sax because they're involved in the same cricket club in Haringey. So and then we started to be good. Just before the pandemic hit, we started to get in our stride, and I think we had some good songs, and I think we were doing all right. We were all gelling as a group, and and then we were just getting a bit of wind behind us, and the pandemic hit. And it's really only since 2019 people were like, oh, but if they'd seen us in the previous 4 years, you wouldn't come back, put it that way. So it was I think we flogged all our good contacts in those first 4 years, and that's why no one heard of us until like 3 years ago. When people were actively avoiding us. But also, we've done a lot of gigs in London, and anyone that's followed us will know. I mean, some people tell us you do too many gigs in London. We probably do, but I don't know if you've seen this research that if you try a food you don't like for 15 to 20 times, you start to like it. I think that's what we've done to audiences. So it's so yeah, we've done a lot of gigs in London, and you know, we're not setting the world on fire. You know, you see other bands shoot past you, and you see other bands who would like to be where you are. But I'm quite happy with where we are. We're a DIY underground band, and we've no, designs on having a manager or a booking agent or doing a GoFundMe or running a Patreon, or, like, we want to perform, we want to write songs, and we're lucky enough now to have Grow Your Own Records on our side. So that's sort of the potted history of it, really. But there was 8 of us. There was bells, and there was someone playing the thumb piano at one point, and it was all. Well, I mean, we do still have some of the earlier recordings, but it's almost painful to listen to them. I'm just shouting, I just sing, and there's like really out of tune thumb piano going on. A guitarist who doesn't know how to play the guitar, and then a bassist that's quite coherent. But so if people who caught us in those days would have given us a wide berth for a few years anyway.
Or saying that the recorded, well, Cherry B, the poet. Cherry B. So
I love Cherry.
She is. I do. I love her bits. But she recorded one of my songs that I played when I did that gig. I'm listening back, going, "Oh my god, it's terrible." And Andy, Andy from Brighton, Andy Cavendish, he's going, "Oh, let me hear some of your stuff." I said, "Well, I've only got this," and he was like, "It was basically saying, don't call us, we'll call you." How you doing? Made me laugh. He was like, I'll add it to the pile, Marie. And I was like, okay then. I think I'm just going to keep on going. Anyway, I've got people asking me about Facebook pages and all sorts. I'm like, I've just got to do it organically. Like, I'm rehearsing with the guys. We've had 2 weeks off because everyone's been sick. Probably heard with a cough. But and I've seen Alex down the Blue Rooms. I don't know if he said as well when we've been in.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah. So
we've been rehearsing, and we've experimented with different instruments. There's going to be a double bass, but Ash don't want to do it. He's going, I don't want to do double bass, so I do guitar, and we've had instrument switches, and it's just fun and it's interesting. But obviously, I don't mean to sound morbid, but I'm getting on. They're older than me, 2 of them.
You think that as you get older, don't you? We've done so much since the COVID restrictions were lifted. We're actually trying to do a bit less this year because we're tired. And, Simon, our saxophonist, is in the sort of upper reaches of the age brackets. And, Matthias is the youngest, and the rest of us are kind of in the middle. But, it's if you're rehearsing every week, which we haven't done this for about a year maybe, but we were doing before that, we were rehearsing every week and then gigging nearly every weekend, and then people have jobs and other lives.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like there was a turning point in about 2021 or 22 where it went from being a hobby into a lifestyle choice. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and we're trying to do a bit less this year and say, well, we've just done 4 gigs in January, right? But we're trying to do 2 gigs a month going forward. And that would still be, had we stuck to 2 in January, that would be 24 gigs in a year, which is still a nice number.
Yeah.
But, you know, we were hitting, you know, mid to upper 30s, and, you know, we're not that good at keeping records, so we're not really sure. So it's like, and, you know, some weeks we'd do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then not for 2 weeks, and then do Friday and Saturday, you know, and we just, none of us are, Alex is the biggest archivist, but none of us are really attached to holding on, making a note of everything we've ever done. So there's kind of a bit, and I kind of like that because it's a bit mythological, which kind of fits into my sort of pagan background as well, you know, like, so, yeah, I mean, but you're right, we got to do these things, right?
Yeah.
You know, the older you get, you can hear the clock ticking louder.
Oh, I know. It's scary. It's ticking scarily louder.
And it's also, you know, like we've lived on the fringe, on counterculture scenes where people are more likely to die, frankly, you know, like of drug overdoses or accidents, risky behaviour, or, you know, like, you know, it's just, and also, you know, people with more fragile mental health are driven to these scenes as well because they're not accepted in the mainstream. So, you know, there's a higher suicide rate amongst our kind of people, and, you know, it's like, so you see a lot of it, and you're just, it drives me forward, and I'm thinking about a lot of the people I've lost a lot of the time when I'm doing stuff, because I'm like, well, you know, Leanne didn't make it to 40 and left her 4 kids behind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh no, I know what you mean.
Plowing on. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
I know. I don't have time to be like fucking frightened either about you doing a gig and like go up there on your own, even if you make a fucking tit of yourself in front of flipping. You gotta fucking do it, because
making a tit of yourself might not feel great to you, but for an audience, it can be fucking fabulous. Do you know what I mean? Like, it really can. If you're in an open-minded and supportive audience, someone making a tit of themselves can just be wonderful because the audience gets behind them, and do you know what I mean? And it's all like, it can be a real moment, you know. It doesn't feel like it if you're the tit.
And you're like, oh, they're just being kind to me. I know they are, but I feel compelled to do this. There's something within me that, you know, has to get up on that stage and has to do it. And I've got, you know, and I've got a lot to say. And for a long time I didn't. And a part of this was because I've got additional needs. So this is maybe why. And also, I mean, you'll probably have heard, I'll be surprised if you haven't. I was married to somebody who I had to get restraining orders against. So that was a very nasty time for me. So those two things combined, you know, I've always been like very wary of where I go out.
Yeah.
And now I'm just a bit more like, I've just got to do it. I've just got to. The whole turning point was being in the women's refuge. You know, going through all of that, and you end up going to a lot of therapy. And have you ever been through rehab? Or do you not want to talk about that?
I did, yeah, well, I have, but it was Buddhist. I did a Buddhist dealing with addiction, mindfulness course, I suppose you'd call it, but it is essentially like a Buddhist rehab, yeah. And that sort of helped me stop doing drugs every day / 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah, and that was about 20 years ago now. But yeah, I did do that, and that was actually, it was really helpful to me. It was a group therapy, which I was really not sure about at first, but actually that ended up being the sort of best facet of it. Because I remember the first day I went there, and I sat in that room and I was sat there judging everyone. Oh God, you all look fucking tragic. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like any of these people. What am I doing here? Like, rah, rah. Then they started to speak. And I started to realise I was exactly the same as those people. And they were all looking at me thinking, oh, he must be tragic. we were all having the same experience, and that really helped me.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, like listening to, I was just like, that's me. Oh my god, am I that tragic?
I know it is when you're in a room full of people, because it's like when you go, I don't know, you've probably not been in a women's refuge, but you can you do actually have a choice of going to therapy, and some don't, and I did, and I embraced it all because I thought I'm not going to be here again.
Yeah.
And yes, same thing like the group therapy, and you're listening to other women talking about their experiences, and it's similar to yours, because I think as well when I was going through it, people had it in their minds, it was like they had Little Mo on EastEnders and like all these soaps had like Trevor Jordash. Don't know if you remember these characters at all.
I do,
like big brooding guys who bash it, and it's not actually like that in real life. A lot of the time it is like control and coercive control and stuff, and I didn't even realise I was in an abusive relationship, so, which was even sadder really. And we could go even deeper because I've got childhood stuff, but as I say, it's not it's not about me, it's about you. So
let's dig into my childhood stuff.
Let's go down there. But
no,
yeah,
I know what you mean, and that's what therapy is intended for, right? To be a turning point. So you should be fucking pleased with yourself that it was, because for lots of people it isn't, and they reject it.
I know.
They start and they reject it, so good for you for taking it how it was intended, really grabbing the ball by the horns, because it's difficult to look at yourself in the mirror like that.
Oh god, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Accept some of the things that you've been doing and saying and that have happened to you, and it's shadow work, they call it these days, right? But it's not easy. And I've done it to a certain degree,
How long were you in therapy for, or do you still go back every now and again and have some sessions?
I don't actually, but I was on and off, not just with that group, but on and off for about 2 years. The Buddhist thing really turned me around, although I didn't really like that sort of Buddhist order that were running that. But no, but I have had other therapy as well. So, but it has helped me actually.
Yeah.
But I can be resistant sometimes. I remember one lot of therapy I had. Just after 6 weeks of not saying anything, she said, "I don't think this is going anywhere." Because I used to go there and she'd be like, "Well, I've got 50 minutes," and they put the clock on the table, and she's like, "Would you like to start?" And she'd just sit and look at me, and I'm sat there like, "I don't really want to start." After 6 weeks, she was like, "I don't think we'll bother with the last 2 sessions."
Oh, don't. Yeah. I think, but then some therapists you meet and you get a good repertoire. It works really well, and some
therapists, that's the point. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like her sort of way of offering therapy obviously wasn't really working for me. I'm much more, I want someone to dig in. I don't want to just offer it myself. When someone starts asking, I can start talking quite lucidly, and I'm quite up for talking about stuff. But if I have to just start with something really deep, do you know what I mean? Like, that's difficult for me.
Yeah.
So it depends on the style of the therapist and the style of the therapy that they are using. But also what really helped me was we used to have these big, in the late 90s, although I didn't start going till the early noughties, there's an organisation called Queer Pagan Camp. Used to run these big camps that would be like between 80 and 130, maybe more than that, people every summer. And they were like big therapy sessions, essentially. It was 10 days sort of pagan, spiritual, magic camp, ritual camp, that sort of thing. But actually, a lot of the meetings there would be a heart circle, and there'd be a space that you could just talk with no response and stuff like that. And so a lot of my stuff I managed to work out through that as well. doing ritualized, I mean, this will be turning the punks off who aren't into any kind of spirituality, but doing ritualized spiritual stuff I find very healing on a level that I can't really describe with words, that is kind of different to talking therapies, or even I've had some CBT as well, so it's different to that. Is kind of a lot of the spiritual stuff is difficult to describe with words. You don't really know because we don't have the language to describe exactly the feeling or the experience that we've had. So you sort of talk this word soup around it, and then it doesn't make any sense to you whilst you're even saying it. But that was really sort of helpful to me as well. That whole, I don't know how many years I was going for, maybe 10 years or something, but it was really useful just to be around like-minded people who also have had problems. Do you know what I mean? But also you've got a shared interest in something else. You know, and I think that's why DIY punk can be kind of healing for people as well, because you can get up on stage and shout and scream about your inner most awful demons, and then come off and everyone tells you how wonderful you are because you're drinking. Do you know what I mean? And then they might share with you one of their demons, do you know? And then you have a little chat at the bar.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And all of that is kind of like just everyday therapy or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, like
that support. Yeah. That DIY support group. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about you had a neighbour you lived with a few. I don't know how long ago it was. A woman, she was convinced you were. I don't know what she was convinced you were, but she. Did you have to move house, or did she move? What happened with that?
No, I mean she. This is another sorry tale. You've really the research you've done. You've really dug out the story.
I just remember it. I remember reading it at the time because you'll post it up, and I'm going, what the fuck is this? It's like, oh my god, that sounds like a situation.
It was a situation, and also, as with all of my situations, you'll often find I've written a song about it. It's on the last album, and the one I was talking about with the sort of blood on my head and ripping the dress off is partly about that situation as well. I was privately renting a flat in Archway, and she moved in next door, and for about the first year she was so quiet it was like no one was there. And then she started to get a little rowdy. I think she was using crack irregularly, but using, and she'd have a session or whatever. And then all of a sudden we lived in these like blocks where it was just 3 flats that are like built like a townhouse, but they were in fact 3 one-bedroom flats, and then 3 one-bedroom flats next door, etc., etc. And she lived next door to me on the ground floor, same as I was also on the ground floor. And then at some point she started to have an argument with the guy above her, and that started to bleed out into everyone else's life. And then at some point she started to turn on me, and what she was doing was banging on the wall, sometimes for 20 hours a day for like 10 days straight, playing hate speech at my front door. She objected to me drying my wigs in the garden or something. I don't know what she objected to me for, but it was based around my gender and sexuality. So, you know, like she'd be shouting abuse at me. You don't know if you're a man or a woman, or and I was thinking, I don't actually. It's not actually what I really need being shouted at me on Junction Road. But you know,
God.
But yes, and as her mental health slid, the sort of abuse got wilder, and she'd leave really weird stuff on my doorstep, like a random earring and like half a falafel wrap.
Sounds like that. I was just, oh my god, we're laughing now, but at the time that must have been really creepy.
I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I had some kind of mental health breakdown because of it. I was still, in fact, the band and the gigs were my only refuge. And also, it was very creeping. It's sort of, I describe it like this. She was there, I was living next door to her for about 4 years. And the first year she was silent. The second year she was having problems that I had no idea that it was aimed at me. And I just wrote her off as, you know, well, she's not very well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Then the second year of the of the sort of targeted abuse, I did realise it was at me. And then the third year, it turned really specifically threatening and homo and transphobic. So, and also, I mean, I could talk to you all night about how the police made it worse. I didn't want to get them involved, but I didn't really feel like I had anywhere else to go because Islington Council were ignoring me. They ignored me for 3 years, and it wasn't just me they were ignoring. Her antics were affecting 7 or 8 households around her who were all complaining to Islington Council. No one did anything until it was on the verge of turning seriously dangerous. And then when they did section her and they the police and the mental health emergency mental health team and the principal tenancy officer, etc., sectioned her. By the way, I mean, it only got that far because me and another neighbour went and lampooned the head of Islington Council and Open Surgery. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once they did start to take it seriously, they realised how serious it was. And when they sectioned her, they realised that the banging on the wall, which she'd been doing for 3 years by that point, she'd been doing with a machete type thing.
Fucking hell,
and all her
that's
walls were
scary.
hacked up, her kitchen side was all hacked up, and this was on my adjoining wall, basically.
Oh my God, scary.
It was really scary. And then, out of nowhere, Islington Council found me somewhere to live that's a council in this housing crisis. They found me somewhere to live because the Met essentially told them it wouldn't be safe for me to continue living there even after she was released from the mental health facility. So they moved me pretty swiftly. I have to say, to their credit, when they stepped up, they did step up, but by that point, I was a complete wreck. It wasn't, when you say you had a mental breakdown, people tend to think you'd sort of hysterical. Do you know what I mean? But actually, what happened to me is my head just started to fold in on itself. My faculties all started to shut down. I was forgetting people's names. I was often forgetting where I was. It's really hard to describe because I've never had that experience before. I mean, I have my share of mental health problems as much as anyone else does. Do you know what I mean? But this was really distinct in the fact that I felt like so hopeless that everything just started to shut down. But in all that, it's really difficult. Until about the last 6 months, I didn't really tell anyone about it. And the reason I didn't tell anyone about it, I've sort of realised analysing myself since, was for 2 reasons. One, because I was really badly homophobically bullied at the single-sex school I went to in the 90s. And I really took the shame on from that. The shame was on me, and I really internalised that shame, and I didn't tell hardly anyone about the bullying. Even when the teachers did notice it, they weren't very helpful because of Section 28. I didn't tell my parents, who would have been very helpful, but I didn't tell them because the shame. I didn't want them to feel ashamed of me. I felt like I was the problem. And that sort of all reared its head when she was starting to do that to me. So I was wrestling with my internalized homophobia that came from being so horrendously psychologically tortured at school and physically tortured at school. But the psychological stuff is somehow so much worse than the physical stuff. Being slapped about and kicked in the balls is really much easier to deal with than having the whole school put their backs against the wall when you walk down a corridor, right? So all of that reared its head. And also, I didn't tell anyone about it because the band was so busy. We were so busy at that point. It was like my refuge, my island. It was like the place I could go that wasn't infected by what was happening at home. So I didn't even really tell any of the bandmates. I just went out and I did the shows, and the whole time my psychology was kind of crumbling, essentially, until the last 6 months when I started to talk about it. And that's when you would have seen the kind of blogs I started to write about it on Facebook. And also, it was sort of, I was getting to the point where it was obvious to the band that something was wrong. Do you know what I mean? So, but there was a point in all that process I realised, hang on a minute, I don't have to keep this to myself this time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got people who aren't homophobic, who aren't transphobic, who love and care about me. And the most that they will be able to do perhaps is kind words, but I could really do with some kind words right now.
Yeah.
So, you know, I started to write about it, and I started to tell people about it. And it's really only, I've been in this flat now. I moved 2 years ago in this coming March. It will be 2 years, and it's about 3 months ago I noticed that, because I've been living with post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder since then, that someone shutting their car door outside doesn't give me heart palpitations anymore. So, you know, it's like, because I knew she was banging on the wall with something. I knew she was dangerous the whole time, because this isn't my first rodeo. And I've, you know, lived quite a rough life on the fringes of society, around a lot of people with severe mental health problems. And the person who attacked me in '99 had severe mental health problems. I know those people are more likely to attack you because they haven't got control of their faculties themselves, you know, than just someone who's threatening you down the pub. They're actually less likely to attack you in a serious way than someone who has got severe mental health problems. I'm not trying to write off people with severe mental health problems. I've actually got a great deal of sympathy for her, even though she's an awful bigot, as well as having severe mental health problems. But, you know, there's all sorts of issues tied in with the society and the governments of the last 10 years and how they've drained all the money out of everything. So there's nowhere for her to go. And years ago, she probably would have been in some kind of warden controlled, or had a social worker that would go around and make sure she was taking her lithium or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? But she was obviously having none of that support. So she was sliding. And as she slid, she was dragging people down with her. And I became the main focus of that. And it's literally only been the last 3 months where I feel like my symptoms, my leftover symptoms from that, are starting to dissipate. Because I did, well, I don't want to speak too badly about my current neighbour next door, but he's got mental health problems. They're just not aimed at me. But he does bang the walls sometimes. So it wasn't not because he's banging the walls, but he's doing DIY or fixing his bike or whatever at 3 a.m. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, it's social housing in inner London. So, you know, you're going to face things like this. But I recognised pretty soon that he wasn't a threat to me, and he wasn't looking to be. But still, his activity could sometimes trigger me. And now it doesn't trigger me at all, to be honest. But so yeah, that was. I mean, partly given the fact that I'd been attacked in 1999, it added a whole sort of realistic spice to the whole situation that was going on a few years ago. So yeah, but I think also, like I say, I do have some sympathy with her, but who I don't have sympathy with is the housing officers at Islington Council who ignored me for 3 years. If I'd have had my wits about me in the last 18 months, I might have even sued them, because it was a dereliction of duty, and it's done a lot to damage my life in the recent times, to damage my psychology and my mental health in recent times. They literally just ignored me. Now, when the principal housing officer could see the amount of reports I'd made, that I'd even emailed my housing officer directly, and she never even fucking got back to me about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, more than once. And when you're noting down levels of behaviour aimed at you that were happening at that startling frequency, I had lists and lists and lists going back years that they'd ignored. So it's like, and when I came face to face with them, I was like, if you're ignoring this, what the fuck else is going on in Islington?
Yeah,
because
no.
I've got the nous to write it down. Some people won't be well enough, or able to. How are they being treated by people who behave the same as that? Well, you've got a good point there. Yeah, fucking, I've got a good point. I mean, I've got some sympathy with people who work at councils as well. They've had central government have stripped their funding out in recent years. All the systems are breaking. It's like, it's not easy, but if you know your safety is being threatened, you don't. People like you and I aren't always minded. Our first thought isn't to go to the authorities. It took a fucking while for me to get there.
Yeah.
To accept that I needed to go to them in the first place, and then to go to them and they not do anything. and in the Met's case, make things worse. So it's like, and I have to say, the Met, who I am not a fan of, were just acting on the Home Secretary of the Times directives to do with hate crimes. So, you know, like Priti Patel and Suella Braverman both handed down directives that hate crime isn't to be investigated unless there is a definite physical assault. So it's basically been open season on minorities, so-called minorities, since then. You know, before that, even a verbal hate crime could be investigated. So she wouldn't have got away with calling me, for chasing me down the road, calling me faggot, because she couldn't say faggot properly. You know, like, for so long. But of course, she could see the police coming to me and then taking no action. So her behaviour was escalating. So in a way, the police and the governments of the time are allowing behaviours to escalate because people who have the same psychology as her think they're getting away with it. So yeah, it was really grim, to be honest.
Oh, flipping heck.
But yeah, I know. I'm a lot happier down here in Newington Green. Just like, it's a different class of people down here. Archway, they're trying to drag it up, but it's they're making it worse, I'm afraid, because it's crackhead central now, and I'm not, you know, just disparaging about people with life-crippling drug habits either, but it's hard to live amongst packs of roaming crackheads like you've got in Archway. Although, you know, you get used to it, but yeah. So it was really that was really tough, actually.
Oh, God, I bet.
If I hadn't had the band, I'm not sure if I would have got through it, because I was getting to a suicidal, because I was starting to think, like, what's the point? How long is this going to go on for? Brick wall with the council, the filth making it worse. Where do I go from here? Do you know what I mean? Like, so because she was in with all the local, like, crackheads, who she was having trouble with as well. They'd come round and try and kick her door in. She obviously periodically owed them money and rah, rah, rah. But those people are also not above doing things that we wouldn't do. So, you know, you don't want to, you know, it's a tightrope to tread, because it could have taken matters into my own hands, but that might have turned out worse for me. So, yeah. There was a band that I tried to call the Menopause Army. Do you know them?
No.
They're around a little bit a few years ago, and they were on if any of them are watching, I hope I'm not misaging anyone, but they were all kind of older, middle-aged, and some middle-aged women. But they were great, but then I tried to book them for something last year and they never got back to me. I noticed their social media accounts have been dormant somewhat, but they were absolutely great, and we played with them a couple of times. But yeah, I think there's definitely a older women-shaped hole in the scene, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think so.
Also, I noticed I think it's Effa Supertramp, do you know her, of Kildren? She was running like over 40s workshops, like punk workshops for over 40s women. I think she was living in London, but I think she's moved back to Wales now. She's from Wales originally. I've only met her once, so I don't really know her very well, but I just follow what she does online. I'm interested in what she does. So I thought that was a really great initiative as well, because often, and you can tell me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I've noticed from my friends, they put there, like I joked with you earlier, but you put your kids first for almost the whole your life, and then people aren't quite sure where they fit in when the kids are older, you know. So and also because women have been running a family or being a parent or whatever, they've lost a lot of themselves, so you have to re-find yourself, you know. And it's like, we need more of this stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Older
we
women,
do.
because, you know, it's like they're doing the back-breaking work of raising, I mean, to put a capitalist slant on it, you know, of raising the workers. Do you know what I mean? And then get fuck all themselves at the end.
I know.
So, you know, yeah.
I think it's all because, yeah, I mean, with myself, I had kids a bit older, so I kind of feel I don't know. I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot. Juggling.
You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. I mean, your business, this, a band, two kids you've got, is it?
I've got 2 kids and Lorik, and that's a story for another day. Yeah.
But there's a lot to do all that.
I'll have to listen to John Fenn's podcast. I keep meaning to, but it's like one of those things. It's like my head's is things coming in and out. It's like.
Have you ever watched that film, Hedwig and the Angry Inch?
I haven't.
You should watch it. It's about a punk rock trans person, like in Germany, as the wall's coming down. It's kind of a comedy musical, so it's like, but it's not full on musical, but it's got really good sort of rocky, punky songs in it. And most of his podcasts, or the series that I'm on, is about Hedwig. Superfan podcast, basically, about Hedwig and the Angry Inch. But it's only like an hour and a half the film, and it's really, really good. I'm not sure if there's any way you can watch it online, but I'll try and send you a link so you know what it is anyway.
That'd be cool. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend it.
Nice.
All right, babes.
Okay, right, I'll let you have to go now. It's been lovely speaking to you.
Gaspaging.
Oh,
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
See you later.